is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, we are back live from Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas. John Kurtz, Derek Young, and we are now joined by Chris Klieman, K-State head coach. Much appreciate the time, Coach. How do you feel about Vegas? Are you much of a Vegas guy?
Yeah, I like Vegas. I used to come out here a lot when I was your guys' age.
Okay.
And I probably wouldn't have made it here on time, so that's a good thing that I didn't come out here for a long period of time. Gene and I talked about this. This will be a quick trip out here that we will have not a cocktail, and we'll have really good sleep. So we're here in and out in the day, and so this is probably – I'd love to get around to golfing. There's some good golf, but I'd had to play really early.
Before we get to anything else, we'll stay on the distraction route here. Do you worry about the video game that's about to come out in a couple of weeks?
You know, I was asking – I had lunch with Austin and Mott, and they were telling me about it. I think some of them played it out here a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I because my kids are all out of the house, I probably won't see it a whole heck of a lot. So, no, should I be worried?
I don't know. You can get addicted. There's that game.
Well, I don't have to worry about that. I got other things that I get addicted on with football starting here August 1st.
Yeah, well, speaking of, I mean, you guys obviously bring quite a bit back. You got a team that's picked second in the league. There was nobody picked on that preseason All Big 12 team. Did either one of those things surprise you at all to see that?
Nothing surprises me when it comes to expectations from media.
Yeah, yeah.
But how
we don't take offense. It's okay.
But how could you pick this league this year? Well, it's really hard. I mean, and I think that's across the board as far as every year, not just the fact that there's new schools, but nobody knows who really got who in the transfer portal and did they fit and stuff. I think there's great parity. And then from the all conference thing, our players know that, but it doesn't matter. You got to perform well and play well during the season. And if you do that stuff, the postseason honors are way better than the preseason honors.
You were picked second last year, picked second again this year, and last year didn't end up quite the way that you guys wanted to. Were there lessons, with how to deal with the kind of hype that was around the team last year that can apply here?
Yeah, absolutely. But I've got to also take it with a grain of salt and say we won 9 games, and there's not a lot of teams in the country that won 9 games, and we had some big time wins over some programs that don't get beat the way that we beat them. And in the same respect, we had some really heartbreaking losses that if one throw goes one way against Texas, we win that game. If we don't get a penalty against Missouri going in for a touchdown, we potentially win that game. But we didn't make those plays. And so it was closer to 11-2 than it was 7-5. And so you got to finish better, all those things. But, we've just got to focus on the task at hand, which is getting better in August and not worry about some of the hype things.
I remember talking to Connor Riley not too long ago, and he said what sticks in his craw a little bit about last year was all the one-score losses.
Yeah.
How do you flip that?
Well, we had a lot of one-score wins the year before, and some of that is as simple as somebody coming up and making a play. Or not making a play, and just continuing to believe that you're going to find a way to win. We felt like we were going to find a way to win in 22, and I really felt like we were going to find a way to win, whether it was for sure Mizzou. I think our guys felt we were going to win that game. Oklahoma State, even as poorly as we played, had a chance late in that game to come back. But, you got to put it in the back of your mind, but you can't draw on it too much for the next year, because I think sometimes – you think of what we maybe drew on too much from 22 and didn't win it in 23. Sometimes you let things fester up on 23 and you're trying to convince yourself that, you can't win a one-score game stuff. And every year is different. And we got a bunch of different guys this year.
Play a lot of new teams, as you kind of hinted at. Do you kind of do some more preparation in off-season because of that?
Yeah, the coaches had their hands full in June. June was already a crazy month with camps, with official visits, with recruiting. And then, we took the 5 newbie teams that we're playing this year in our league, as well as UTM and Tulane, and did a pretty good 3-day evaluation on each team just to get some data on the team personnel, what they like to do offensively and defensively, and then match it when we get to that week to see, okay, is it the same? There's some coaching changes and all those in a lot of those venues too. So, but yeah, it's not as easy as just pulling out your Rolodex from Baylor that you've got 4 years on, or TCU that you've got a handful of years on. or Tech. Now it's all starting from scratch.
Do you call on coaching friends that have played some of those schools in the Pac-12 or anything to get insight?
Yeah, absolutely. You contacting other coaches that maybe Kleinerman will know, or Riley will know, or Wells will know, or Van will know, to say, hey, how did you defend this team, or how did you defend this type of set? And or you look at that team and say, okay, they really struggled to score against this team. Let's see what they did defensively. Sometimes it matches up, sometimes it doesn't, but you're always utilizing the people in the profession.
So Connor, Derek brought him up, your new offensive coordinator. Take me back to the time, like when you find out Colin is likely to leave or then does leave. You're worried about in this day and age with the portal. I'm sure it's probably more stressful, right? Making sure that you're keeping guys around and you have Avery there. Like what was that time period like for you?
Yeah, it was miserable. That month of December was hard because of the fact coaches were on the road, and players are getting called, whether they're in the portal or not.
Yeah.
They're getting contacted. Coaches are getting contacted. All of our coaches are on the road. Thank heavens we changed that rule. No coaches will be on the road this year in the month of December. Last year, I was actually here for the College Football Hall of Fame, and Riles was with me because Cooper Beebe was getting honored. So we kind of knew what was going on with Colin, and we talked about it, and I was going to name him interim right there, so he knew what was going on. And then we weren't going to mess around with the quarterback job until we got to the end of the bowl season. But I'm going to be excited about this month of December. Doesn't mean there's not going to have defections with teams, and there's still going to be kids in and out of the portal. But the fact that your coaches are going to be around every day, I think is going to be really, really helpful.
I know you got more than one thing on each side of the ball that you still want to address before the season begins. But what's maybe that one thing on each side that you want to get to as soon as possible?
Yeah, the depth in the offensive line. We lose those seniors, but, you guys know our program well. We lose a lot of seniors, but Hadley's going to be a senior. Carver's going to be a senior. TP's going to be a senior. We've got a lot of seniors coming back, too. Sam Heck's going to be a really good football player. Andrew Linegate's been in our program a long time, really good football player. Easton Kilty, really good football player. But some of those other guys, Pastore and Beckwith, those guys have got to be ready to play and help us. There's a number of those guys. So the depth in the offensive line is one thing, and then the depth at linebacker. Every year we seem to get hammered with injuries at linebacker, so we end up finding more guys this year, whether it's freshmen or, like Asa Newsom coming off of knee surgery, because I think Asa is a starter in just how quickly can we get him back, and creating that depth at linebacker so that we don't have to play Austin Moore and Des Purnell 80 snaps a game. And then hopefully he can play on some special teams. And so we feel like we've increased the depth on the defensive side. We just got to work with those guys in the month of August and see who can really help us.
Do you think Asa is going to be okay to go this year?
I do. Yeah, I think he'll be cleared to do everything in August for sure. He's already doing 7-on-7 stuff now.
So this is a question I'm sure everybody's asking around here, but you add Dylan Edwards to the offense. Like, what kind of dynamic does that give you that wasn't previously there before?
A home run. We had it with Deuce in 21, 22. We had a really good offense in 23, but didn't have the home run threat. And this kid, Dylan, can do that in the return game, do it out of the backfield, do it as a pure running back, doing it creative ways to get him the football because he's an electric player. And so that really will help. I think it's going to help DJ Giddens, too. DJ Giddens is still, I think, one of the best running backs. That's a kid that probably could have been and should have been on all conference because of what he did last year. But DJ's a terrific player, and we're still going to ride DJ, but we just have more people around him now that can do some things with football. Dylan being one, a lot of really good wideouts that we hear about, don't get probably enough recognition to, because we've got to throw the ball better, and that's something that we worked on this spring, and I'm excited as we get to fall because there's a number of guys that missed spring, DJ included, Jace included, that didn't get that full spring with Avery. We get those guys with Avery as well as some of these new guys like Dylan, a year season, Trey Spivey and stuff. Oakley missed most of spring. We're going to have a full complement of guys in August, and I think we'll be able to throw the ball more effectively.
It feels like we've heard a lot about Keegan Johnson from some of the players that we talked to here, and he could be someone that really helps out that receiver core. Like, what are you seeing from him?
Yeah, well, Keegan was our best receiver last year all the way through camp, and he got injured a week before camp ended. And it nagged him for the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season. Then he got healthy to make some plays in some games. Then he kind of got nagged again, and then ended up having a really good bowl game. We've got to find ways to manage him because I think he is one of the best receivers in the Big 12 when healthy. He's proven it in every practice we have that he goes and gets the football and can outrun people and runs great routes. We just got to do a great job of managing him because we need a healthy Keegan Johnson. Because if we have a healthy Keegan Johnson, it opens everything up because now you can't cover him one-on-one, so you got to put somebody over him.
Is there a few players that, I know you don't listen to the media types a whole lot, but maybe don't get talked about a lot, but are going to have a huge impact for you this year?
Austin Romaine is a great name that played a lot of football as a true freshman. And the growth that I saw him make from the end of that freshman year through the winter, through spring ball, through where I see him in the summer, athletically, understanding what we're doing, he's going to be a really good player for sure. Oakley, we talk about a lot that I think is ready to break out. Trey Spivey's one we talk about that's ready to break out. Those guys, I think of Andrew Line. If you look at a lineman, I look at Liney. Liney's ready to have a freaking great season. And we've got older guys on the defensive line in Mott and Stuff and those guys. But Jordan Allen and Ryan Davis and Chidiobi Izor, and Toby's now moving to defensive now. Toby Osunsami. We have a lot of depth there, and we're going to utilize those guys so we can keep Mott and keep Stuff fresh.
A cornerback, I feel like you don't have as much length there as you've had the past couple of years. He feels that way. Is that something you kind of work against or try to?
Well, if you're comparing to Julius Brents, that's a tough one. Yeah, exactly. Good luck finding that one. There's a reason why he's playing for the Colts. So no, we don't have Julius Brents there. But I think Jacob Parrish is one of the best corners in our league, and Keenan Garber is turning into one of the best corners because he's now fully implemented as being a defensive back. They have better ball skills than what Julius and Echo have. They really do. Mm-hmm. Those two guys have phenomenal ball skills, which is really, really good, that I'm excited about. Then we got another kid named Jordan Dunbar that showed up on campus in June, and he came from Rice, and he can play a lot of football for us, and he has that length. And it's just a matter of how quickly in August he can understand what the heck we're doing, and he's a smart kid, so he'll pick it up. So it gives us more options there.
I've said for a while, I think Marquis Siegel is an all Big 12 player that probably should have been on the list.
Yeah.
How special do you think he can be this year?
Yeah, Klieman and I talk about him a lot. We've done pretty well in the transfer portal at safety.
No, man.
We've hit some home runs. Rush East. And Siegel's in that line. Russ was a corner, moved to safety. Josh Hayes was a corner, moved to safety. Both those two guys were on NFL rosters. Even take Reggie Stubblefield.
Right.
Was a corner. We moved him to kind of the nickel back in that old system. That's kind of what we're playing Siegel at. Siegel's a little bit bigger and a little bit faster than all those guys. And so Siegs is an all-conference player.
And one last thing I want to ask you about the offense. And Connor Riley's an offensive line guy, right? Making the move to offensive coordinator. How much will he be, I guess, with people that have concerns about, like, will you be throwing the ball with Connor Riley as the offensive coordinator? Like, what would you tell people that ask about that?
We'll be throwing the ball because of Avery Johnson, not because of Connor Riley. But we're also going to run the football because we have DJ Giddens, and that's the thing. If we're up 2 scores in the fourth quarter and we can pound it at somebody, let's win the game because we all feel better when we win, don't we? It's a lot better when I drive home and don't have to listen to you guys.
You brought back Drew Little as a staffer. Is that to help with the offensive line?
Yep. We're anticipating that rule changing from a personnel standpoint. So Drew will really take a lot off of Connor's plate, and then don't underestimate us getting Nate Katzer to coach special teams. The guy's a 10-year NFL special teams coordinator that our guys are so excited to work with.
What was it like trying to get him to Kansas State?
Easy.
Yeah?
Yeah, Tui and Wells knew him extremely well. He's a Scott City, Kansas kid, and he was excited to be here.
Well, take care of Gene on the way back. Make sure he doesn't get into any trouble.
Kenny's the one I'm always worried about.
Okay. Well, both of them. Yeah. Hey, we appreciate it, Coach. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we have to tell you about our friends at Home Field Apparel. There is not any of it here because, we've got to wear these, like, stuffy threads like we're important people, That's why we got a polo. Derek's not wearing a Kentucky T-shirt, But Well, we would if we could, because our friends at Home Field Apparel bring you the best college gear around. They have 50-plus K-State designs that you can get at homefieldapparel.com. They also have 100-plus other teams if you want to mix it up like DY. Derek, just for fun, do you want to throw out, like, if you could today, what shirt would you have been wearing? Like, what team would you go with?
I'm trying to think of a Big 12 team that's here, went today that I have. Because I have Colorado and Baylor, but they go tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It is short. I don't know. I don't think I have
Right.
today.
Oh, Derek would have been wearing K-State today, okay?
Yeah, Cats.
And if you use promo code 3MA24, yes, that's right, updated now, 3MA24, you can get 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. So make sure you get there and get the best gear around so that you look your best when you get to Bill Snyder Family Stadium.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Welcome back live from Las Vegas, Big 12 Media Days. John Kurtz, Derek Young with you, and we are joined now by K-State Athletics Director Gene Taylor. Gene, appreciate you taking the time.
It's great to have you guys.
Are you a Vegas guy? How are you digging the Vegas vibe here?
Well, I think I love the excitement of Vegas. Never been a big gambler, but I love the excitement, the lights and the shows and some of that stuff. The food's great, massive hotels. I think that's kind of cool. But I think it's fun to be here. It's new, unique, and
Yeah.
the venue's unbelievable. Except they don't have protected lights.
We're laughing because I was just complaining about that. So Big 12, if you're listening to 3MA, which I'm sure the Big 12 is, I'm sure Brett Yormark listens to that. I saw it, by the way. I walked into the workout room this morning at the Bellagio.
Right there, it was like bringing them over.
Yeah, yes. So 6 a.m., I walk in, and I think I'm going to be the first person in the workout room. Yormark was already on the elliptical sweating away.
Yeah,
so
I don't think the men's.
Yeah.
Because I know during the Big 12 basketball tournament, he's like in there. He's at 5, sometimes 4.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah. Does that mean you were in there at 4 a.m?
No, trust me, I know it's not. No, I just have heard that he's an early riser, gets after it, and gets to work. He's always mostly suit and tied, like
Yeah.
as opposed to me.
What is it like being in a room with him when he's in his real mode? Like, he's got his eyes locked on this.
It's for me, it's a lot of fun because been in this business a long time, and I'm the traditional college athletics guy, and he comes in with such a different background in terms of the revenue generation, and looking at he obviously in the NBA, he was in more sports, he was in everything. He just makes you think differently, and he pushes you to kind of think outside the box, and so for me, it's been fun to be around him. He gets a little out there sometimes, and we're like, what do you think? But I think he just likes to throw stuff out there. But if you think about his aggressiveness after Bob got the 4 schools in, we knew right away, I'm going up to Colorado. He must have known or felt Colorado would want to get out of the Pac-12. And he was talking to them long before anybody knew. And then he started talking to Arizona. And then he started letting us know, and then all of a sudden we saw what happened with the Pac-12. And so his aggressiveness, I think, is a good thing. And, if you think about some of the stuff, people, that question about, a halftime show at a football, well, you got a lot of eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
What we're doing at the Big 12 basketball tournament in terms of some of the entertainment there. So, if it brings more eyeballs to the Big 12 and we can generate some revenue off of it, good for us.
You've been named at one point the Big 12 or the National College Athletic Director of the Year. You got an Elite 8 run under your belt with Durham Tank's first year, a Big 12 football title. This past year, hosted a women's NCAA tournament game, super regionals in baseball. Just how much pride can you take from the job that you've done at Kansas State throughout this last tenure?
Well, I always so funny when I get asked that question because I really don't have a lot to do with that. I don't coach. I don't.
You hired a lot of them.
But it is fun. What I get a good joy out of it is just watching those coaches have success. I mean, let's take baseball, for instance, right? Just baseball. And maybe even Coach Mitty last year. That team deserved, Coach Mitty's team deserved that home run, right? And then they had such a good year, and They were such a fun team to watch. And, yeah, they were part of the Lightning News Bottle women's basketball. But hosting that tournament was phenomenal. You know, obviously it was heartbreaking to not move on to the next round. You know, and then, you know, the Pete's team didn't get in last year. A lot of people felt, at least we did, felt they should have. A lot of those players come back when they didn't have to. And then to go and win a regional and then get to a super regional. To me, that's what I enjoy the most about my job, is watching these coaches and teams have success. Enjoy it, you know, from afar a little bit. But I was thinking while we're in the regional run, just sitting there watching baseball and just kind of soaking it all in. Sometimes we don't do that in this business. We don't really enjoy the successes because they don't come all the time. And that was what I was able to do. And that's where I take just a lot of enjoyment.
I don't mean to put you on a spot, but coaching contract-wise, I think you recently got stuff done with Coach Tang, Coach Mitty. Is there anything else that you have on the agenda?
Not on the agenda, but you just never know. Obviously, we're going to be hiring a new track coach at some point to replace Cliff Roberto. You know, obviously Cliff was with us for almost 40 years, and you know his reputation is phenomenal. So we've been able to spend some time with some great coach or track candidates. We'll be probably making a decision on that one pretty soon. But you know, we'll see. Obviously, you know, Coach Klieman's had a lot of success, right? And you know, we kind of re-upped him a couple of years ago after the Big 12 championship, and you know, there's coaches around him that are making a little bit more money than he is. So all that's just kind of an ongoing thing, and you know, we want to keep these guys as long as we can. We need to try to keep them here as long as we can and do what we can. But there's going to come a point at some point that some coach is going to ask for dollars that we just can't reach, and then we'll just have to pat them on the back and say goodbye.
You got me thinking about this when you were talking about like stopping and smelling the roses, basically, right? Like enjoying the success. Is it harder when there's so much going on in the backdrop of like revenue gap, SEC Big Ten, revenue sharing, like just everything that's going on? Because honestly, as a fan, sometimes I have to tell myself, like, dude, just enjoy the games. Like, you know, it's so hard when you're thinking about all this big picture stuff.
Well, no, that's a great point, a great question, because sometimes, you know, us as ADs, we get too focused on that, and we worry about that too much as opposed to enjoying these, you know, young men and women that get to represent our programs. And I think that's where I have to sometimes do the same thing. It's not, we have to worry about revenue share. Let's go watch the teams compete. Let's go talk to our coaches. Let's go watch them practice. And, you know, because that's what this business at the end of the day is all about. And yeah, some of these athletes are making money now, right? Whether it's through NIL or in the future revenue sharing. But one of the things that I enjoy watching is when they get out to practice and watch them, how hard they work, you know, and then they go out and compete their tails off, and, you know, the physicality of a sport like football and grind of a sport like basketball or baseball. At the end of the day, these guys just want to go out and win a championship. They just want to compete for K-State. At least, you know, our athletes do. And then that's where I get a lot of enjoyment. You know what? This is still college athletics. And yes, it's a little different. But at the end of the day, we want to host a trophy and you know, celebrate success.
You touched on the revenue sharing model that's probably on its way at some point in the near future. I know the TCU athletic director, Jeremiah Donati, put out something about they intend to, you know, maximize that entire allotment.
Well, wait, Derek. Texas Tech fans were very quick to tell me that Kirby Hoka did it first, okay? I got crushed for saying that Donati was the first to do it, right?
Okay, well, that's the first one I saw. But I guess, what are your plans? Do you intend to kind of follow those same?
So here's my thought. And I've given both of those guys a little grief because I saw them today. I'm like, fellas, it's not like groundbreaking news. We all do that. Now, I guess we can up to that point, but if you don't, you're going to get crushed from a recruiting perspective, right?
Yeah, so you don't really have a choice.
You don't really have a choice, and so I appreciate them trying to be out there in the world marketing and recruiting, but I'm kind of, Jeremiah, are you going to do anything other than trying to hit the max, you know? So I thought it was kind of funny that they came out with that, but yeah, we have to, I think, for a lot of reasons. Now, how we get there, and are we gonna, you know, because apparently it may be up to each institution of how they share it, whether it's going to be revenue based or equity based. I didn't know that. I've heard that today for the first time. I thought it was going to have to be but it may still be a conference decision, maybe an NCAA decision. And so those are things we still don't know. But, we're going to do everything we can to share in the maximum amount. Whether we're going to increase our scholarships as part of that number, whether we're going to keep doing Austin or not doing Austin, we still have to talk through all those things because we just don't know yet. But yeah, we there's no way we can't be a part of the entire amount, whatever the amount becomes.
Are there more discussions? Have there been more discussions ongoing? I know I just asked you the same question a couple of weeks ago, but creative ways, naming rights, private equity, different things like that you guys can do?
Yeah, I think all that's on the table. And we talked about, I think for us to not talk about or look into private equity as an institution is we're cheating. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What does it mean to us as an institution? I think our conversations with the donors now have to be a little different. Before we went to them and said, hey, we need NIL money. What does the collective look like? Do they stay a collective, or do we take those dollars and bring it in-house, or just put that towards the money that we need from revenue sharing? So all of that is still conversations that we're having. But yeah, I think, and as we've made decisions already, we're going to be able to put, sponsorships on the 25-yard line football. They're talking about patches on jerseys. All those sometimes make our fan base and some of us in the business uncomfortable, but we have to do this. We have to think outside the box. Whether equity makes sense or not, I don't know, but we're certainly going to look into it. And we're, probably going to talk to people and have them do a proposal and see, what it would cost. I mean, the equity money is not cheap. It's an expensive thing. But, at the same time, we have to stay competitive and figure out how to, I've said this before, is like we panicked with Alston. Oh, my gosh, how are we going to be able to afford Alston? We panicked with the cost of attendance. Oh, my gosh, are we going to come up with that? When we started feeding, oh, my gosh, well, you plop a $20 or $22 million expense on schools, that affects everyone. It's not just K-State. It's Ohio State. It's Alabama State. They're all going, whoa, we're coming up with that money. And so we're all having the same conversations.
Well, guys, we tell you all the time, we are very lucky that we not only have the supporters that we do, but that we have supporters who are great K-State people, and that is exactly the case with Elenco. If you have home remodeling needs, you need to get in touch with Elenco, because these are cats, man. We talk to them. They're awesome guys that love the pod and love K-State. So they've also been a locally owned company since they started in 1986, based out of the Kansas City area. But, man, they can get all over. Manhattan, Emporia, Topeka, Wichita, small towns like Elenco will come and take care of your home improvement needs. They can help you out anywhere. So if you need new windows, you need a bathroom remodel, they specialize in premium window replacements, Kohler Luxstone shower systems, new siding on your home, Elenco is the spot. Go to elencohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com, and check out all the services they offer, including free estimates. Give Sam, who's a great cat, great K-Stater, a call at 913-961-2165. He'll get you taken care of and answer any questions you have. Go with Elenco, great local business family, and most importantly, they support EMAW, my friends.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Bramlage Coliseum, any closer on the naming rights there? I know that's a change that's going to happen as well.
Yeah, we've been talking to a lot of groups. It's just we haven't found somebody that wants to pull the trigger yet. We've gotten pretty close on a couple of really good conversations. So we don't have anybody yet that's right there to close the door. We're still talking. I think now, I'll be honest with you, is the sponsorship on the football 25-yard line maybe more attractive. I don't know. But we're still going to, we're going to go to a point where if we just feel there's nobody else out there, then we'll probably, take a break. There are still people that are interested in talking to us.
But for discussion's sake, how much would it cost for 3MA to be on the 25-yard line?
I've heard a lot of different numbers. I mean, some pretty big numbers. So it's not $1.99. That's for sure.
Okay. We're probably priced out, yeah.
Well, maybe for you, we'll give you a discount.
Okay.
How much are we talking?
I don't know. Instead of $10 million, well, $5 million, $6 million.
Yeah. 15%. Use promo code 3MA23. You get 15% off. I think that's how it works.
probably as good a time as any to maybe update everyone on ticket sales. I know you guys are pretty good at marketing that and getting that information out. It sounds like even the Oklahoma State and Kansas games are almost sold out at this point.
Yeah, they are. I just actually saw a report today. We still have a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot. There's not a lot of tickets for any game, really. There's a lot of some scattered singles. And so when you look at, obviously Oklahoma State and KU are almost completely sold out. The Arizona game is pretty close. The later game in November has always been a tough one for us. But, there's not a lot of tickets available. And I think as we get closer to that August date, it's going to be harder and harder to get a ticket. So if you want to get them, you probably should get them now. We just got our first report from volleyball. Volleyball tickets are already higher than they were last year by a lot. I think that venue will probably sell out from a season ticket perspective. And both men and women's basketball are doing really well right now. So, I think people are really excited about the potential year ahead.
Yep.
I think Coach Tang with his new basketball team, basically, it's brand new.
That's basketball.
It's basketball. Obviously Coach Mitty has got a great team coming back with some new additions, and obviously there's a lot of excitement about football.
On the flip side, you're going to face a lot of new teams in football this year. Is there a road game? I asked this to players. Is there a road game you circle you can't wait to get to?
Gosh, I'm trying to think who do we have on the road.
Like Colorado and BYU are two.
Colorado and BYU are probably the typical. Now, we were going to Arizona State. I'd circle that because I'm an alum, but yeah, they come to our place this year.
I saw you listening to Kenny Dillingham. What'd you think of Kenny?
Yes, I've heard he was just a young, and he is young. Yeah, I mean, he's not.
I think I'm older than him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. I've never met him before. I didn't get a chance to meet him at our Big 12 meetings. But I just kind of wanted to hear, how he approached things, and I thought it was interesting when they asked him a question about, their venue and how loud it is. But he did actually talk about knowing that on the road in the Big 12, he's probably going to have to go to silent count to a lot of places. Where last year they maybe had to do it one.
Yeah, I don't think the Pac-12 had the environments that the Big 12.
I think a lot of the Pac-12 schools, except for maybe Utah,
yep.
I think they're going to, and maybe BYU. BYU's pretty easy from it. But there's going to be some of the schools that are going to be like, whoa, this is serious stuff here. So
basketball too.
Yeah, and they probably never had tortillas thrown at them. I can promise you that. They've never had tortillas thrown at them.
What's it been like just chatting with their athletic directors, getting to know them? Like, what kind of feeling do you get from those guys as they enter the Big 12?
I really like them. It's been interesting because with Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and UCF, those ADs came in and they've been kind of in the room, at least the first couple of years, pretty quiet, right? I think they realized, okay, the ADs in the room, we're not going to, the more they got comfortable, the more they started to put. When the ADs from Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado came in, they've been already part of the Pac-12, and they were already, this is what we did in the Pac-12, this is what we did, and they were like, whoa, we know. But all good dudes. Know them all. I really like them. Graham, the newest one from Arizona State, I've got to know him. I think the good news is we can have the conversations are interesting because you had 16 guys, 16 people in the room, and so that takes a while to get around to hear everybody's opinion. But at the end of the day, I think we all want still what's best for the Big 12. And everybody got some different opinions because the four schools from the Pac-12 did it a certain way. But that's great. Let's hear what you did that worked and what didn't work. And now the other schools, they feel they're a true full member because they've been through the year or at least a season of competition. So, but all the conversation's been good, and most of all the athletic directors were, guys and people that I really enjoy being around.
So 16 teams now, gets a little convoluted at the top with football. And look, love Brett Yormark, but we saw last year that the tiebreaker scenario, is a little flimsy.
Probably something we need to keep working on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, have there been conversations around that? Like, do you guys have assurances as to, hey, this is ironclad, we know how this is gonna go?
We really haven't yet. I mean, the meetings have been mainly about what we've been talking about, the revenue sharing and the settlement. And so we haven't really got into football. I think once we get into the season, then they'll probably say, oh, wait a minute, somebody's going to bring up the tiebreaker thing and bring that back up. But we'll start looking at that eventually.
How do you feel about the 20-game conference basketball schedule?
I know the coaches aren't too excited about it. I think when we put it out there, we thought, well, let's go ahead and do it because it is the strength of our conference. But I think at the same time, Jamie Pollard, who was sitting on, I think he's still sitting on the Division I basketball committee, was like, guys, we got to be a little careful here because we could, eat our own, so to speak.
Yep.
And so I think that's what the coaches are worried about. And one of the reasons we did it was the SEC challenge was going away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they felt that was a good way to pick up a couple more good home games, quality home games. I think Fox and knew that part of the basketball, and they wanted to see some better, more conference games. I think I won't say this for sure. The coaches have said, all right, let's do it for a year. There'll be a lot of discussion whether we do it more than 1 year, but we'll see.
Did you smile as much as us when you saw the home schedule when the Big 12 came out and you get all those teams at home?
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh boy,
that'll help
that's
season
good for
ticket
us.
sales.
It's really good for us. Yeah, we got some good teams.
That was why Houston, Iowa State, Arizona, Kansas.
Basically,
all coming
every
in.
team at the top will come except Baylor.
Okay. Football-wise, anything surprise you about either being picked second or nobody on the preseason all Big 12 teams?
The second one surprised me.
Yeah.
And again, like Chris said, he doesn't really pay much attention to that. I'm guessing the players maybe did a little bit.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a little motivator for them to say, all right, great, we'll show you. But, I think it doesn't, it shouldn't be the only thing that drives you. But I knew there was going to be some support for us this year in terms of, where we'd be voted. I figured we'd be at least the top 3 or 4. But it did surprise me that we didn't have any players first or second.
The last one from me. How much are you going to play the video game? Well, it's your
I never was. I played when my son was younger, and he used to kick my butt, and I'd be like, all right, I'm not playing. So he's excited about it. It's coming back. So, I wasn't very good at it, and I probably won't.
You want to add any hype to the hype machine for football before we let you go? Like, what are you feeling about this team right now?
I'm just one of those kind of guys that is quietly optimistic, and I'm always afraid if I get out ahead of myself that we're gonna, just kill everybody. Then it's, they'll bite you in the rear. I'll never forget when I was at Iowa, my second year there, my second year. Went over to watch practice, and I'm like, man, I don't know that we're going to be very good. I just kind of watched. This tells you how much I know about football. And we went to the Rose Bowl. And I went to the Big Ten Championship. So, probably not the best judge of how good or not good we're going to be, other than just listening to people. And, I do get some different insight from Chris and keep it between the two of us. But, there's a lot of quiet optimism.
Yeah.
Which is the right word.
How much longer do you think Chris is going to do this? We're talking about all these things changing in the sport, right?
He's still pretty young, in my opinion. But I know a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, particularly what affects him, the transfer portal, the NIL, and they recruit all the time now. They very few days off. Just constantly trying to, work the system that we've created. And it gets old. And I think it's, eventually going to wear on. You've seen coaches get out and talk about how glad they're out, right?
Yeah.
I've seen some of my AD colleagues talk about how glad they're out. I'm not there yet. I don't think he's there yet, but I think as long as we keep having success, we'll keep him here for a while.
Yeah. Well, Gene, we appreciate it. Thanks for everything you do for the Cats. And we'll talk to you soon.
Enjoy Vegas.
Yeah.
Don't spend too much money on the.
He's the one you need to talk to.
Okay.
That's not me.
Thanks, fellas.